Did you know that for a time, the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, they actually accepted a Costco card as ID at the airport? It's pretty wild, isn't it? And it really says something about how huge this company's become in our daily lives. But the story of how it got there, well, that's quite a journey. Welcome to Seeking History. Today, we're diving into that story. We're going to explore how this pretty unique retail idea started small and grew into a global giant. It fundamentally changed how we shop, and it influenced society in some surprising ways, too. We'll look at the big moments, the smart strategies, and, yeah, some of the quirky things that make Costco, well, Costco.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, I think, is that the Costco story doesn't actually start with Costco. You got to go back to Price Club. That was founded in San Diego, California, way back in 1976. Sold Price and his son, Robert. And this wasn't just another store. It was literally the first ever warehouse club business. Yeah. They basically invented the whole model.
Right. And they started out really specific, didn't they? Like super exclusive almost. At first, it was only for business customers. You needed, a resale certificate or some kind of professional license just to walk in. But the really groundbreaking part, the thing that changed everything, was that annual membership fee. $25 back then. That was totally new for retail, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That membership fee was just brilliant strategy. It completely flipped the traditional retail model on its head. See, normally stores make most of their money from the markup on products, right? The gross margin. But Price Club could sell stuff almost at cost because they had this guaranteed income stream from the memberships already locked in. It shifted where their profit came from. And, psychologically, it was genius. Once you paid that fee, you felt like you had to shop there enough to make it worth it. You're kind of invested.
It's like a built-in incentive to keep coming back and buying more. Very clever. But even with that innovation, it wasn't smooth sailing right away, was it? I read Price Club actually lost $750,000 in its first year. That's a pretty big hole to dig out of for a brand new business.
It is, yeah. And that loss, well, it forced them to rethink things, to pivot, really. They realized pretty quickly they need more customers than just businesses, so they opened it up to regular households, but also specific groups like government employees, people in credit unions, hospital workers, that sort of thing. And this wasn't just about getting more feet in the door. It was smart risk management, too. By choosing these groups, who were generally pretty reliable financially, they cut down on problems like bounced checks or shoplifting. That helped protect their low-margin model.
And that change worked, didn't it? Like almost right away. By 1979, only 3 years in, Price Club was making money. They had 2 stores, 900 employees, and get this, 200,000 members already. That kind of rapid growth, especially with a totally new way of doing retail, must have come with its own set of challenges, though. How'd they manage that?
Well, it really came down to Sol Price's core philosophy. He was absolutely relentless about operational efficiency, cut costs everywhere possible, and then pass those savings straight on to the customer. The stores were super basic, minimalist, often in kind of out-of-the-way spots. These really simple fixtures, sometimes just pallets, and they didn't offer a huge variety of items, just the popular stuff in bulk. Famously, they didn't take credit cards for a long time, except for really big buys. No free delivery, not much advertising. Everything was about low cost, pure value.
So that whole frugal image, the bare-bones warehouse look, that wasn't an accident. It was totally intentional. It was their brand identity, right? By showing you exactly how they were saving money, they built this incredible trust. You knew you were getting a good deal.
Exactly. It fostered this deep loyalty. And that loyalty, combined with the value, it just fueled unbelievable growth. By the end of 1984, Price Club was doing over $1 billion in annual sales. $1 billion. In less than 10 years. That really proved the warehouse club idea wasn't just viable, it was huge.
Wow. So, yeah, it makes sense that Forbes magazine called Price Club the best managed company in the U.S. in 1986. And that same year, 86, they took their first step internationally, opening in Canada. Mexico came a bit later, in 92.
Okay, so Price Club is blazing this trail. But then someone else sees this model and thinks, hey, I can do that too.
Oh, and this is where Costco itself enters the picture, right? As a separate company initially. Jim Sinegal, who interestingly had worked for Sol Price before at a different company called FedMart, he teamed up with Jeffrey Brotman. And they opened the first Costco warehouse, Seattle, Washington, September 15th, 1983.
That's right. And Costco, well, they grew incredibly fast too, maybe even faster than Price Club initially. Just 3 months after Seattle, they opened a second store in Portland. Then a third in Spokane before the end of '83. Think about that pace. By the end of 1984, so just over a year in, Costco already had 9 warehouses across 5 states. and 200,000 members. That's the same number of members Price Club had after 3 years. Costco did it much faster.
That's really moving. And just a year later, in 1985, Costco went public. By then, they already had 17 locations and almost 2,000 employees. Clearly, they were ambitious and building momentum fast.
And this leads us to a really fascinating point in the story, a huge turning point.
Yeah.
1993. Price Club and Costco decided to merge. They combined forces to become PriceCostco. And this was a big deal because apparently Price Club had already turned down an offer from Walmart to merge with Sam's Club. Choosing Costco instead, well, it made a lot of sense. Their business models were so similar, their company cultures, their size even. It allowed them to keep that unique approach alive rather than getting swallowed by a retail giant like Walmart.
Yeah, it feels more like a partnership of equals, doesn't it? Not really a takeover. They shared that same core DNA. And the merger instantly created this huge entity with way more scale, more resources, bigger market reach. Plus, for members like us, suddenly your card worked at any Price Club or Costco. That was super convenient.
It really was. Overnight, the combined company had 206 locations and was pulling in $16 billion in annual sales. That merger really cemented the warehouse club model as a major player in the whole retail landscape. It set them up for the global dominance they have today.
Interesting side note here. After that merger in 94, the Price family actually left PriceCostco. They went off and started PriceSmart, which is a separate warehouse chain focused more on Central America and the Caribbean. Still exists today.
Right. And the name evolution continued, too. PriceCostco didn't stick around forever. In 1997, they became Costco Companies, Inc. And then finally, in 1999, the name we all know now, Costco Wholesale Corporation. By 97, they'd also finished rebranding all the old Price Club stores, so everything was under the Costco banner. The unification was complete.
Okay, so post-merger, unified under the Costco name, the global expansion really kicked into high gear, didn't it? They were already in Canada and Mexico before the merger, but afterwards. Wow. South Korea and Taiwan by 2001, then Australia in 2011, and more recently, like 2019, they made a big push into China, plus new places like Spain, France, Iceland, even New Zealand.
Yeah, what's really smart about their international strategy is how they approach it. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. They really dig into the local market conditions. Often they'll partner with established local companies to get started.
Yeah.
It helps them navigate all the different regulations, cultural nuances,
Yeah.
That's why they've been so successful expanding globally without losing that core Costco feel. They adapt carefully.
And it wasn't just about opening more physical stores. They went digital too. Costco.com launched back in 2012. And then in 2014, they partnered with Alibaba in China for an online store there.
Right. And their e-commerce side really took off, especially during the pandemic. Sales basically tripled.
Yeah.
But it's important to see that as complementing the warehouses, not replacing them. The physical store experience is still very much at the heart of Costco. The online stuff just adds another layer of convenience.
And all this growth, physical and digital, has led to just enormous scale. As of, May 2025, they have something like 905 warehouses worldwide, mostly North America still, about 86%. That makes them the third biggest retailer in the world, right? Only Walmart and Amazon are bigger. And they're doing almost $250 billion in revenue annually. Just staggering numbers.
It really is. So, okay, this incredible journey, what does it really mean for us, for how we live and shop? Because Costco's model, it's had a huge impact. Let's start with the membership model itself. Financially, it's the engine. Those fees bring in around $4.6 billion a year. That's nearly 80% of their actual net income. That income lets them keep the markups on products incredibly low.
And it's more than just money, right? It creates this fierce loyalty. That 90% renewal rate year after year is just amazing. Paying that fee up front, it creates that psychological contract you mentioned. You feel compelled to shop there to get your money's worth. It makes you feel like you're part of this, exclusive club.
Exactly. It taps into that sunk cost idea.
Yeah.
You've paid, so now you're motivated to maximize the value you get back. It basically pre-sells your commitment. Every time you shop, it feels less like spending money and more like you're just cashing in on the membership you already paid for. It creates this really powerful cycle. Membership money means low prices. Low prices attract members and make them spend more. It just feeds itself.
Okay, then there's the whole bulk buying revolution. That's core Costco, right? Huge packages, big discounts. It definitely changed how a lot of American families shop. People talk about the Costco effect, stocking up, making fewer, bigger shopping trips instead of lots of small ones. Does selling in bulk give Costco big advantages on their end too, operationally?
Oh, absolutely. Huge advantages. Selling more stuff per transaction means fewer checkouts needed, less packaging overall, simpler logistics. And when you're buying such massive quantities of each item, you get incredible bargaining power with suppliers. You can demand rock-bottom prices. So lower buying costs mean lower selling prices, which drives more sales volume. It's that virtuous cycle again.
So we've got the membership, the bulk buying, but there's another piece, maybe less obvious, but really important, the Kirkland signature brand. People see it as just Costco's store brand, but I've heard experts call it their secret weapon. What's the story there? Why is Kirkland so significant?
Kirkland Signature, yeah, launched in '95. It really is a secret weapon. The genius was deciding to partner with top-quality manufacturers. So often, when you buy Kirkland, you're actually getting a big brand name product just in different packaging. Think like Starbucks coffee beans or Duracell batteries. The quality is designed to be as good as, or sometimes even better than, the national brands, but the price is consistently 10, maybe 20% lower. That builds enormous trust. People know Kirkland means quality and value. It completely changed the game for private labels, making them desirable, not just cheap, and financially. It's massive. In 2021, Kirkland Signature accounted for over $59 billion in sales. That's like 31% their entire revenue.
Wow, nearly a third of their business from their own brand. That's incredible. Okay, let's talk operational ingenuity. We mentioned the low markups, like 14% on brand names, 15% on Kirkland. That's way lower than typical retail. And the limited selection, only around 4,000 different products, or ServUs. Most supermarkets have tens of thousands. How does having less choice actually work in their favor?
Well, for one, it creates a sense of urgency, maybe scarcity. If you see something cool, you know it might not be there next time. It also cuts down on decision fatigue for shoppers. You're not overwhelmed by 50 kinds of ketchup. And for Costco, it means huge buying power for those specific 4,000 items. Suppliers really want to be one of those chosen products. Combine that with a simple, no-frills warehouse design, it all screams efficiency and cost saving.
Which leads us to another key part of the experience.
The treasure hunt experience. Yeah, that's totally a thing. The inventory is always changing. You go in for paper towels and milk, but then you see, I don't know, a kayak or a high-end espresso machine you weren't expecting. It definitely encourages you to wander the aisles, right? You might make impulse buys. It makes coming back more exciting because you never know what you'll find. It's like they've gamified shopping. Precisely. That element of discovery, that little thrill, it keeps people coming back and often leads to them buying more than they planned. And to make sure you keep coming back for that treasure hunt, they use those famous loss leaders. We all know them. The $4.99 rotisserie chicken, the $1.50 hot dog and soda combo that hasn't changed price since, 1985? They definitely lose money selling those items that cheap. The goal is just to get you in the door, knowing you'll likely buy other more profitable things while you're there.
That chicken is legendary. They supposedly lose like $30 or $40 million a year just keeping that price at $4.99. It's almost like a symbol of their commitment to value, isn't it? But how do they sustain that kind of loss on purpose?
Well, it shows their long-term thinking. They know the value of getting you into the store outweighs the small loss on the chicken or the hot dog. And with the chicken, they've even gone so far as to build their own poultry processing plants. Vertical integration just to control costs and quality. It's extreme dedication to that value promise. But Costco's impact, it goes beyond just how we shop. It affects the broader economy and even culture.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Costco as a different kind of employer. They have this amazing reputation, right? Paying well above the industry average, like $24 an hour versus maybe $15 elsewhere. Plus, great benefits, health insurance, retirement plans, even for part-timers. How does treating employees that well actually help the customer experience?
Oh, it makes a huge difference. It's not just generosity, it's smart business. Their employee turnover rate is incredibly low, maybe 12% compared to like 60% in the rest of retail. That saves them a ton on hiring and training costs. Plus, happier, more experienced employees provide way better customer service. They know the products, they care more. It builds a really positive brand image too. Costco proves you can pay good wages and benefits and still be wildly profitable. They really set a standard there.
Okay, moving on to shifting the retail landscape. Costco is up against huge players, Walmart and Sam's Club, Target, Amazon breathing down everyone's neck. But their core appeal value, bulk, seems incredibly resilient, doesn't it? Especially when inflation hits, people flock there. Has their model forced other retailers to change?
It definitely has. You see other retailers trying out bulk sections or launching their own membership programs, trying to capture some of that Costco magic. And, Costco's continued success also shows that physical retail is far from dead. People still want that in-person experience, especially for buying essentials in bulk. It challenges the idea that everything's just moving online.
Yeah, they've managed to make going to a giant warehouse feel like an event, an adventure, like you said, not just a chore.
Yeah.
Online shopping can't easily replicate that feeling.
Exactly. And that brings us to their broader socioeconomic and cultural footprint. When a Costco opens, it brings a lot of jobs, supports local suppliers. That's a big community impact. Demographically, the typical shopper used to be seen as maybe older, middle to upper income families looking for deals. But what's really interesting lately is how much spending comes from the most affluent shoppers. The top 10% of earners now account for almost half of Costco's sales. That's way up from decades ago. It shows that being smart about value isn't just for one income group. Everyone appreciates quality and a good deal, especially in bulk.
And that all feeds into this whole Costco culture, right? That feeling of a busy, bustling place, almost like a city unto itself. The exclusivity of the membership, the treasure hunt. It creates real devotion among shoppers. Okay, let's dive into some of the fun facts and maybe lesser-known details about Costco. These are always interesting. Like, did you know you don't always need a membership card? For certain things, anyway. Often, the pharmacy, the optical center, and sometimes liquor sales, depending on state laws, you can access those without being a member. And the food court is often open to everyone, too. It's kind of a clever marketing tactic, a little taste of Costco.
All right, it's a soft sell. Gives people a reason to come in and maybe see what else they're missing. They also have those dedicated business centers, mainly for commercial clients. They open earlier. But regular members can shop there too, which is kind of cool.
And some of the stuff they sell is just unexpected. Like that giant 72-pound wheel of Parmesan cheese for nearly $1,000. Who buys that? Or I read they used to offer a private jet membership through a company called Wheels Up, a Costco private jet program.
Yeah. It's all part of keeping things interesting, creating buzz. Those high-ticket, unusual items, they fuel that treasure hunt vibe. They get people talking. It's not about selling tons of cheese wheels. It's about the excitement, that dopamine hit of seeing something surprising.
There have been some funny historical moments too, right? Some oddball things, like that time they had to recall punching bags because instead of sand, they were somehow filled with dirty underwear. That's bizarre. Or the controversy back in 2013 when some Bibles accidentally got labeled as fiction. Whoops. They said it was just a labeling mistake.
Yeah, those kinds of things happen. They show that even a super efficient machine like Costco isn't immune to strange slip-ups. And the fact that a labeling error makes news just shows how much Costco is part of the cultural conversation.
And for sheer customer loyalty, you can't beat this one. Apparently, a couple actually got married inside a Costco, right there in the frozen foods aisle. Now that's devotion.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping things up, when you look at Costco's whole history, its success really comes down to how all the pieces of its model work together, doesn't it? It's the membership fees, providing that stable income base, the super low markups this enables, the efficiency of bulk buying, that incredibly trusted Kirkland brand, the streamlined, no-frills operations, and importantly, that culture of treating employees well. It all clicks together.
It really does. And it's clear Costco hasn't just changed how we shop. It's changed what we expect from retailers in terms of value, quality, even the experience itself. They've influenced so many other businesses, set new standards for supply chains, for employee treatment. That Costco effect is a real phenomenon in the business world and in our own lives.
Absolutely. And as they keep growing globally, keep adapting to digital trends, that core model seems as strong as ever. Makes you wonder, right? As they continue refining that treasure hunt, balancing efficiency with experience, what's the next surprising thing they'll pull out of the hat? What's the next unexpected find that will become part of the Costco legend?